Hi everyone, welcome to another in-game devlog video. Today's episode is very special because instead of showing you one of my game gen creations, I will be showing you for the first time my next commercial project, a little game called Rabisco. Rabisco, for those who don't know, is the Brazilian Portuguese word for scribble. I chose this name for three main reasons. 1. It's sound kind of cute and unique. 2. There's nothing similar on Steam. And 3. It's related to the doodle art style used in the game. But before we take a look on the game itself, I would like to mention another game called Samurai Muko. Samurai Muko is the game I was working on a few months ago, and I had the intention to make many levels for it and release it on Steam. However, after 3 months of development, I realized that I didn't have the artistic skills to make 1-bit art in a reasonable time. For example, the Torii Gate show in the beginning of the game took me at least 2 hours to make, which is a lot considering the fact that I'm also the one who was making the code and the sound effects. Besides that, the game turned out to not be fun at all, so I decided to grab everything I learned from working on my first top-down game and start a new project. Then Rabisco was born. This time I made very clear decisions to avoid any kind of problem in mid-development. I decided to use a doodle art style with a simple shading inspired by the Yoshi Island art style, which is something I can do by myself. I also decided to make everything truly top-down instead of the 30 degrees I have used previously, which was inspired by the Legend of Zelda games from the SNES. Well, now let's talk about what I have already done within this project. The first thing I tried to improve compared to my other games is the level selection screen. I have previously used a unidirectional level selection system, which is totally functional for tiny games, but now we are talking about 100 levels games. So if you want to go from level 1 to level 100, you would have to smash the arrow keys to reach the level you want to play. So I implemented something called a hub world. A hub world is like a playable level where you can actually control the character, but only to choose the level you want to play. I took this idea from Super Mario 64, where you can walk around the castle and find the level you would like to play. I also added these big colorful paint pools in the hub world. At first they are locked behind a door, but you can unlock them by playing the game and then customize your character with different colors. By the way, the color effects are produced using a WebGL effect on top of the character, so I don't need to make a bunch of sprites every time I decide to change something. Even with different colors, the main character still is a bit boring, so I add some motion into his move. When you hold the run button, his body will stretch to give the feeling of motion, and when you press the interact button, his body will shrink for a moment. The main character also leaves a trail behind him when he's running, and you can actually draw something with this. I'm pretty excited to see what people will be able to make. And as soon as you start to run around the level, you will notice that the camera is a bit different than what I usually use. Instead of making a fixed camera, I have made a dynamic per run camera, so I can create multiple sections with different level design ideas in the same layout. By the way, sometimes you may find one of these folks staring at you, but don't be afraid of them. They actually give you some very useful information, but I still need to work a bit more on them, because right now they can see you through walls, which is kind of creepy to be honest. You may also have noticed the compass in the HUD. This compass will always point you to the closest power star, which is your main goal in the game. And as you can see, I have already made a few working levels that can be played. The game even saves your progress, as you can tell by the floppy disk popping up in the bottom right corner. I'm kind of proud of this save system because instead of making multiple variables for each component that needs to be saved, I made an array that can be saved and loaded as a JSON file in a single line of code, which is super handy and easier to manage. I also took all the information stored inside the array to calculate the player progress and display it in the hub world. If you need to pause the game, I also already implemented a simple pause system with working menus. Actually, most of the game menus are already working, I just need to redesign them to make them look better. I also made a little cutscene for this game, which is something completely new to me. But I will probably need to rework this cutscene using the new timeline tool, since it's way more appropriate than hard coding everything. By the way, if you want to check how the timeline works, I post a new template on my Patreon page. Well, I guess there's only one last thing that I would like to show you. Since the game is running inside Chromium, I can take advantage of this web-based platform and open any website without a problem. So I linked every name in the credits to a web page. My name, for example, will open up my Patreon page. The musician name will open his Bandcamp page, and so on. And that's it for now. This is the progress I have made in the last few weeks, and I hope to have more to show you very soon. This episode was founded by our supporters on Patreon. If you would like me to continue with this show, please consider supporting me there. Thank you very much for watching, and farewell.